The day I saw my best friend walking down the aisle, I thought my heart would stop. She was wearing a beautiful white wedding dress, smiling at everyone around her, while I sat quietly at the back of the church. But I wasn't watching a stranger get married. I was watching my best friend marry the man who had once promised me forever. And the most painful part was not that they were together. The most painful part was that I had introduced them. I had opened the door to the relationship that would eventually destroy the two most important relationships in my life. My name is Lily, and I am 27 years old. I work as an editor for a small publishing company, and for most of my life, I have been a quiet person. I enjoy simple things. I like drinking coffee on rainy mornings, reading books before going to sleep, and spending weekends with people I love. I never dreamed of becoming rich or famous. I only wanted a peaceful life with someone I could trust. For almost 4 years, I believed I had found that person. His name was Ryan. Ryan and I met at a small coffee shop near my office. He was sitting alone, reading a book I loved, so I started a conversation with him. We talked for almost 2 hours that day. After that, we started seeing each other regularly. Ryan was kind, funny, and patient. He remembered the little things about me that other people forgot. He knew my favorite food, my favorite movie, and even the exact way I liked my coffee. After 2 years together, we started talking about marriage. Sometimes we looked at houses online and imagined what our future home would look like. We talked about having children one day. I honestly believed Ryan would become my husband. There was only one person I trusted almost as much as I trusted him. Her name was Chloe. Chloe had been my best friend since university. We met during our first year when we were both lost on our first day of classes. I was too shy to ask for directions, and Chloe was too confident to admit that she was also lost. We laughed about it, and somehow, that small moment became the beginning of a friendship that lasted for years. Chloe knew everything about me. She knew about my childhood, my fears, my dreams, and every relationship I had ever been in. When I was happy, she was the first person I called. When I was sad, she was the person who sat beside me without asking questions. I trusted her completely. That's why I never thought twice about introducing her to Ryan. It happened at my 25th birthday dinner. I invited a few close friends to my apartment, and Chloe was one of the first people to arrive. Ryan came later with a small birthday gift for me. I remember smiling as I introduced them. Ryan, this is Chloe. I've told you so much about her. Chloe laughed and shook his hand. I've heard a lot about you too. That night, the three of us spent hours talking and laughing. Nothing seemed strange. In fact, I was happy that the two people I loved most seemed to like each other. I never noticed the way they looked at each other when I wasn't paying attention. I never noticed how easily they found reasons to continue conversations. I was too busy feeling lucky. Over the next few months, Chloe became a regular part of our lives. Sometimes she joined us for dinner. Sometimes Ryan helped her with small problems because she was new to the city. I thought nothing of it. Why would I? She was my best friend, and he was my boyfriend. I trusted both of them. Then, slowly, things began to change. Ryan started working late more often. Chloe began canceling our plans. When I asked her about it, she always had a simple explanation. I'm just tired, Lily. I believed her. When Ryan came home late, he told me the same thing. Work has been crazy. I believed him too. I didn't know that while I was trusting them, something was happening behind my back. Then one Thursday afternoon, Ryan asked me to meet him at our favorite cafe. The moment I saw him sitting there, I knew something was wrong. He looked nervous. His coffee was untouched. I sat down across from him and smiled. "What's going on?" I asked. Ryan looked at me for several seconds before finally speaking. "Lily, I think we need to talk about us." My smile disappeared. "Okay." He took a deep breath. "I don't think I can continue this relationship." I stared at him. I couldn't understand what I was hearing. "What do you mean?" He looked away. "I think we've changed. I think we need to go our separate ways." 4 years. 4 years together, and suddenly he was ending everything in a small cafe on a Thursday afternoon. I asked him if there was someone else. He looked directly into my eyes and said, "No." I believed him. That was my biggest mistake. I walked home that day feeling like someone had taken a part of me away. For weeks, I barely left my apartment. I stopped going out. I stopped answering calls. I cried almost every night. But Chloe was always there. She brought me food. She sat beside me while I cried. She told me that Ryan had made a terrible mistake. One night, while holding my hand, she said, "Lily, I promise you, one day you'll be happy that he left." I looked at my best friend and believed every word she said. I didn't know that she was already keeping the biggest secret of my life. 3 months later, I finally started feeling better. I returned to work and began rebuilding my life. I stopped checking Ryan's social media, and I started believing that maybe Chloe had been right. Maybe losing Ryan was the beginning of something better. Then, one Saturday morning, I received a notification on my phone. It was from Chloe. She had posted new photos. I opened the first picture and immediately felt my heart stop. It was Chloe, smiling in a beautiful white dress. I looked at the second picture. Ryan was standing beside her. Then I saw the final photo. Ryan was holding her hand. Under the picture were 5 simple words that changed everything. The beginning of our forever. I couldn't breathe. My best friend was wearing a wedding dress. My ex was standing beside her. And suddenly, I understood something that made my entire body go cold. They hadn't just fallen in love after my relationship ended. They had been hiding something from me, and I was about to discover just how long they had been lying. When I saw that post, I felt as if the entire world had stopped. I stared at the screen for several minutes, hoping there was some mistake. Maybe Ryan was only helping Chloe with something. Maybe the pictures were old. Maybe the caption meant something completely different. But then I saw another picture. Ryan was wearing the watch I had given him for our 4th anniversary. Chloe was wearing a necklace I had bought for her birthday. They were standing in front of a beautiful building, smiling like 2 people who had nothing to hide. I felt sick. My hands started shaking, and I immediately called Chloe. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. Then I called Ryan. His phone went straight to voicemail. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the pictures again. I suddenly remembered every strange moment from the last year. Every time Chloe had canceled our plans. Every time Ryan had come home late. Every time they had both told me they were too busy. It was all beginning to make sense. I had been the only person who didn't know what was happening. A few hours later, Chloe finally called me. Her voice sounded nervous. "Lily, please don't be angry." I laughed quietly because I didn't know what else to do. Why would I be angry? There was a long silence. Then she said, "I wanted to tell you." I closed my eyes. "Tell me what?" "About Ryan." My heart started beating faster. "What about him?" Chloe took a deep breath. "We're together." I already knew, but hearing her say it made everything feel real. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer. Chloe, how long? Almost a year. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Almost a year. Ryan had ended our 4-year relationship only 3 months ago. That meant he had been with Chloe for almost 9 months while he was still my boyfriend. So, you were together before Ryan broke up with me? I asked. Chloe started crying. It wasn't supposed to happen. I stood up and walked toward the window. What wasn't supposed to happen? Falling in love? Or lying to me? Lily, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. My voice was calm, and somehow that frightened me more than if I had screamed. Both of you did. Chloe begged me to meet her, but I refused. I told her I needed time. The next morning, Ryan came to my apartment. I almost didn't open the door. When I finally did, he was standing there with a nervous expression on his face. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He walked into the apartment where we had spent so many evenings together. He looked around at the photographs on the walls, and for a moment, he looked sad. Lily, I never wanted things to happen this way. I crossed my arms. Then tell me how you wanted them to happen. He didn't answer. Did you love her while you were with me? I asked. Ryan looked at the floor. That was enough of an answer. I felt something inside me break, but I refused to cry in front of him. How long? I asked. Ryan, I asked you how long. It started slowly, he said. We didn't plan it. I shook my head. That's not an answer. He finally looked at me. 8 months. 8 months. I felt my stomach turn. 8 months, I repeated, and you came home to me every night. He said nothing. You told me you loved me. Still nothing. You told me there was nobody else. Ryan closed his eyes. I'm sorry. I laughed bitterly. You know what hurts the most? It's not even that you fell in love with her. It's that you both looked me in the face every single day and lied. Ryan tried to explain that he had wanted to tell me many times, but he was afraid of hurting me. I told him that was the biggest lie of all. He wasn't afraid of hurting me. He was afraid of losing the life he had with me before he was ready to replace it with Chloe. Before leaving, Ryan said something that I couldn't forget. Lily, I know this is painful, but Chloe and I are serious. We're getting married. I stared at him. For a moment, I couldn't speak. What did you say? We're getting married. I looked at the man I had once planned my entire future with. Then I laughed, but there were tears in my eyes. You met her because of me. Ryan looked away. I know. You fell in love with her because I trusted you. He remained silent. And now you're going to marry her. Lily, get out. He left without another word. For the next few weeks, I disappeared from everyone's life. I stopped answering Chloe's calls. I blocked Ryan's number. I even stopped going to places where I might see them. I thought the pain would eventually disappear. But every time I closed my eyes, I remembered that birthday dinner when I had introduced them. I kept asking myself the same question. How could I have been so blind? Then, one evening, I received a message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me open it. The message contained only one sentence. Lily, there is something you need to know about Chloe before she marries Ryan. I stared at the screen. My heart started beating faster. I didn't know who had sent the message, but I knew one thing. Whatever this person wanted to tell me could change everything. And for the first time since Ryan left me, I wondered if the story I knew was only part of the truth. I stared at the message for several minutes before replying. Finally, I typed, "Who are you?" The answer came almost immediately. "My name is Daniel. I used to work with Ryan." My heart started beating faster. I asked him what he knew about Chloe. His next message shocked me. Before you introduced Chloe to Ryan, she already knew him. I read the sentence again and again. It didn't make sense. Chloe had always told me that she had never met Ryan before my birthday dinner. I asked Daniel to explain, and he told me that he had seen Chloe and Ryan together several times before that night. At first, I thought he was lying. Maybe someone was trying to create problems between them and me. But then Daniel sent me a photograph. It was an old picture taken at a restaurant. In the picture, I saw Ryan sitting across from Chloe. The date on the photograph was 6 months before my birthday. My hand started shaking. I immediately called Chloe. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. Then I sent her one message. I know. Within a few seconds, she called me. I answered, but neither of us spoke. Finally, Chloe whispered, "Lily, I'm sorry." "How long did you know Ryan?" I asked. There was silence. "Before you introduced us," she finally said. My heart sank. "Why did you lie?" I asked. Chloe began crying. "Because I didn't want to lose you." I almost laughed. "You didn't want to lose me, so you took my boyfriend." "It wasn't like that," she said. "Ryan and I met by accident. We talked a few times, but nothing happened. Then you introduced us, and I realized he was your boyfriend. I tried to stay away from him." I didn't believe her. "Then why did you start a relationship with him?" Chloe didn't answer. I knew the truth was coming. "Because he told me he was going to leave you," she finally whispered. I closed my eyes. "He told me you two were unhappy. He said you were planning to end the relationship." I felt tears running down my face. I never planned to leave him. "I know that now," Chloe said, "but at the time I believed him." For the first time, I understood that Ryan had been lying to both of us. He had told Chloe one story and me another. He had convinced her that I was the reason he was unhappy, while convincing me that she was only my best friend. But there was still one question I needed to ask. "Why are you marrying him?" Chloe became silent again. "Because I'm pregnant," she whispered. I felt my heart stop. Suddenly, everything became clear. The wedding wasn't only about love. Chloe was pregnant with Ryan's child, and Ryan had decided to marry her. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, but another part of me felt strangely calm. I finally understood that Ryan was no longer my future. He was simply a chapter in my past. "Lily," Chloe said, "I know you hate me." I looked out the window at the evening sky. "I don't hate you," I said, "but I don't know if I can ever forgive you." She started crying. "I understand." We ended the call, and for the first time in months, I felt something inside me becoming lighter. A few weeks later, I received the wedding invitation. I almost threw it away, but then I changed my mind. I decided to go. Not because I wanted Ryan back, not because I wanted to ruin their wedding. I went because I wanted to close that chapter of my life with my own eyes. On the wedding day, I sat at the back of the church, exactly where I had imagined myself sitting when the story began. Chloe walked down the aisle in her white dress. Ryan stood waiting for her. When he saw me, his face changed. For a moment, I could see regret in his eyes, but I didn't look away. I smiled, not because I was happy for him, but because I was finally free. After the ceremony, Chloe came to me. She looked nervous. "Thank you for coming," she said. I looked at her and nodded. "I wanted to see you one last time." Tears filled her eyes. "I wish I could change everything." I smiled sadly. "So do I." Then I hugged her. It was not the hug of two best friends. It was the final goodbye between two people who had once meant everything to each other. I left the church alone. Outside, the sun was shining, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt peaceful. I had lost the man I thought I would marry. I had lost the woman I thought would always be my best friend. But I had learned something more important. Sometimes losing the wrong people is the beginning of finding yourself. I spent years believing that my life would only be complete if I had Ryan beside me and Chloe as my best friend. I was wrong. My life was complete before them, and it would be complete after them. That day, I didn't lose my future. I lost the future I had imagined with people who had already chosen a different path. And as I walked away from that church, I finally understood the truth. My best friend married my ex, but that day, I stopped waiting for the life I lost and finally started living the life I deserved.